and welcome back to another episode of Tech Pro Unicorn Podcast. I am your host, Michael Grace. Today, we are going to talk about the home services industry, which you're kind of like, Michael, that's kind of off topic, but not really, because we're going to talk about technology within that industry. And my guest, Justin, is I would say, is disrupting that industry and providing a great service to folks that are in the home services industry, which is really cool to see. We'll talk about the product. The product is Allset. So if you want to follow along at home, you can go to tryallset.com. So TRYALLSET.com. And you can jump on their website and you can see kind of the product that we're going to be really talking about. Justin's an entrepreneurially minded business leader with an experience in software as a service. He co-founded 3 Silicon Valley startups, was selected by The Guardian as a rising star in AI and conversational commerce. Prior to startups, Justin led product and marketing efforts for Fortune 500 software companies, including Intel, Oracle, and Adobe, all household brands. Founder and CEO of Allset, the company that we're going to be talking about. So he's intimate with his own product. Allset is a fully automated messaging platform for home service businesses. Our software leverages customers' CRM data to automate communications after completed services. Hundreds of businesses using Allset to see an increase of 300% or more in revenue. Justin has studied, lived, and operated in a variety of international locations, including Singapore, China, Mexico, Puerto Rico, Brazil, Mozambique. I just love saying that word. New Delhi, and is fluent in Portuguese, Spanish, French, and conversational Hindi. He's been profiled by VentureBeat, Deseret News, and Entrepreneur.com, and is a frequent public speaker. And in his spare time, as if he has any, he enjoys playing indoor soccer, tennis, and mountain biking. So now we're changing the language. We're going to start with Spanish, then we'll move to French, then we'll move to Portuguese. No, I'm just kidding. Thanks for taking the time, man, and joining us here on the podcast.
Michael, thanks for having me on the show today.
This is very cool. You were in big tech, right? I just want to start about a little bit about you, and we'll get to Allset. But here you are in the world of big tech, right? You're at some of the largest brands, and then you're like, yeah, this is fun, but I think I'm going to go off and do my own thing and start my own little software company. Tell me about that journey. Like, what spurred you to want to do that?
Sure. I love big tech. I think every individual who's pursuing a career in tech should launch themselves and go, find a, Fortune 100, Fortune 500 opportunity. It gives you leverage to learn, corporate leadership, how to communicate, how to hit, tasks and projects, how to, really manage multi-million-dollar budgets and launch at a global scale. So it's certainly a great opportunity to be a part of something that's bigger than you, by an order of magnitude. And, in terms of, my own personal journey, I had a great time. I met, incredible mentors, leaders in those environments. And then, thought about really the career and the life that I want to build and really the upside potential. And I found that, the upside potential in many cases, was far more riskier, yet far higher by looking at, early stage venture-backed startups where, frankly, you're paid, a third of what you'd get paid in a, more secure setting. Job stability is much more challenging, yet your, sort of rate of personal growth is much faster and accelerated. And so those are kind of some considerations in making the jump from big tech to early stage startups. But some people do it the other way around. But highly recommend, really working in the software, sometimes hardware environments can be, extremely fulfilling as you see products hit the wild and scale. So
I love it. Yeah, it's so much disruption, I'd say, right now, right? In technology moving into areas that historically really it hasn't gone into. If you think about the home services industry, right? Let's use just plumbers as an example, right? You typically be like, oh, I need a plumber. Maybe you ask a neighbor. maybe you go on Craigslist or Angie's List or something. You somehow find Bob the plumber, right? Who comes out, does a great job, and then he typically like writes scribe stuff, almost like etching into stone tablets, right? Like writes down like what he did and hands you this yellow piece of paper, and then you pay him, cash or check, and you're like, "Do you take card?" And they're like, "No, I don't take card." And you're like, "Oh, this is so awkward." And you got to have cash on hand and all this craziness, right? That industry hasn't really transformed in like 200 years. I mean, it just seems like it's stuck in time. And then more recently, you're starting to see, I think, the more savvy small businesses as they grow or as they realize, this is a great way to serve their customers, right, and provide them a convenience. Companies like Allset are entering. So talk to me about like how you saw that niche opportunity to serve the industry, and then kind of a little bit about what Allset does.
Yeah. So you bring up a couple of great points. First of all, customer experience in a digital world today matters more than ever. It's
Amen.
a differentiator. It's an important tool to be able to retain, find customers, keep them coming back. To be able to increase revenue. Whatever those company metrics are for the business. It really starts with a customer first experience with really modern relationship. And some of the experiences you've just described where we see pen and paper or a lack of tools, right, or scheduling systems to run and grow the business tend to be things that kind of the up and coming generation has very little tolerance for. Many of the home service businesses that we run into today, are run by kind of that Generation X, baby boomer. So we see a high number of these individuals, and we also see a high number of these individuals looking to retire and get out of the business. And so, you've been running a plumbing company, a cleaning, company, a roofing business. There's all types of home services. And out of the blue, these folks are retiring, and the question we have to answer is who's the next generation that's going to be taking over these businesses. Their children want to become TikTok and Instagram and YouTube stars. They want to run podcasts. They want to lead digital media efforts. They don't want to go run a plumbing company. We have huge challenges in labor shortage. There's challenges around payments, right, and communications. And then we're also seeing just a huge age gap that's starting to take shape within this industry where younger people don't want to grow up and they're not aspiring to be plumbers. They don't want to take over their dad's trade business. They want to, run and do something that's, much more digitally savvy or, maybe less labor intensive. And, I think after looking at all of those crosswinds that are taking place, after purchasing, a home in Utah and going through the experience of, dealing with, so many trade professionals and service pros coming in and out of the home. And then on top of that, you have a pandemic that is forcing everybody to stay at home. So wear and tear is taking place. These trade businesses went from like a luxury to a necessity. And, especially when you think about cleaners, it went from this, oh, it'd be nice to have, or let me clean my home before my in-laws arrive, to now, this is a healthcare risk if I don't. And so as we've, paid attention and spent time in the field, I personally started the business by going out into the field and doing ride-alongs with business owners. So I would call a carpet cleaning company or a window washing company or auto detailing company and say, hey, I love your business. Can I come along? Can I just observe what you guys are doing in the field? How technology has a role, if it does, how you're interacting with your customers, how, payments are taking place. And through, countless hours of observation, spending time in the field, I've cleaned more carpets than I care to admit, after having no prior experience or prior tech experience. But I think all of those experiences have helped us build kind of this empathy, right? And this, kind of ability to map out the solutions and the needs that these businesses have. And it comes down to really a few simple things. They need they need automation, and they need tools that, they really don't have to dedicate time or, that are costly to implement. And so I think observing that, spending time in the field, watching these trends culminate, I think you're spot on, Michael. The trades are a decade behind everyone else, and we want to help the industry get up to speed and deliver, best in class customer experiences.
I love so much of what you just said, right? The fact that right? I think people have a perception that founders and people that go out there just know it, right? They somehow the knowledge just fills their head, and then they pivot in their chair, and out comes this great product. And oftentimes when they do that, or they think they know, they miss the mark, right? And then you have these companies that are here today, gone tomorrow, because they never took the time to really do what you did, which is really cool, right? We talk a lot on the podcast about connection to customer, and you literally did that, right? You went out and were in the shoes of the customer. I don't know that you needed to clean carpets, but that's kind of cool too.
It's extremely satisfying. I'll say that.
Yeah, brown, now white. Yes, this is great. But the other thing that you touched on was the empathy, right? Like, I think people that are genuine, when they see somebody with a need, right, they want to help, right? And in this case, using the term empathy is a great way to describe, like, okay, I understand the need. How do I build something that relieves the pain, essentially, right? And I always say the successful products are products that solve a problem. So, helping them be able to do less paperwork and less scribing onto stone tablets, and having that be more automated, really allows them to increase revenue in the most simplest sense by even, hey, I don't have to do all that, so I can clean an extra carpet and make an extra couple $100, right? And then a couple $100 5 days a week becomes thousands becomes tens of thousands. And all they did was implement a small automated solution.
Yeah. Look, hard work, is noble. And, certainly as we've gotten to know these trade professionals and these, small business owners, they're incredible individuals who have powerful stories, of, sort of their why behind why they're running their businesses. Look, you've got 128 million homes in the United States. All of them need to be serviced. This industry is not going away anytime soon. But what is changing is really the perception, right? Just because you and I work behind computers, at a desk, doesn't make us any better, than, a job that's more labor intensive. And in fact, I think those, specialized skills will continue to become more and more valuable as time goes. And so we certainly honor, our customers and the work that trade businesses are doing today. And yeah, we have to, make sure that we're viewed as equals, on the same playing field, that's delivering software that democratizes their access, to efficiency and access to talent and access to tools. And I think there's just been a gap for too long, and that's frustrating.
How do you get a sense of, right? A lot of these folks tend to be older, right? Use the term like their father's business, right? They've learned the trade and such. When you approach them with a technology solution, how receptive are they to that? Or is it like, ooh, no, I'm fearful of that because I feel like I'm losing control?
Yeah. Service professionals are busy. And so we're talking, 8 to 10 hours in the field. To be able to get on a phone call, is a luxury. And that's something that, we are obviously, very sensitive to in terms of their time. we'll have conversations, and these folks are in the field. They're like, "Hey, I'm actually on the job. How can I help?" And so in those moments, we've had to kind of again take a very product first and empathy first approach, where it's like, "Hey, let's send them a text message that shows a fast demo in about 10 seconds, get a full understanding of the product." And then let's build out some automation that takes place within our demo that allows these businesses and business owners to review, and we'll follow up in the evening, right? So say 7, 8 o'clock, when we know that they've come home, they've settled down, they've dropped their boots and their gloves, at the door, and now they have some time to start thinking about software, thinking about ways to invest in themselves and in their business, and find tools that help them become more efficient. And so, we leverage a lot of text messaging. We're a text messaging company. And so we have to be very sensitive of, never being spammy, but providing helpful, relevant, and useful information at a time when it's convenient for them. And that allows us to present our offering, to help them see our solution and quickly, get, buy-in from their team, or if it's the owner themselves, to get access to the tool. And then the other thing we think about, Michael, is like, look, we don't need money up front. We're a venture-backed startup. Let's give you access to our tool and our software for free for the next 30 days.
Wow.
Try it out. Get access to the value. Let the software do the talking in terms of the increase in revenue, the increase in tips or reviews or referrals for the business. And once we've delivered and proven that value, now at that 30-day mark, we're at a point where we can look each other eye to eye and say, "Hey, we've not taken any of your time, in terms of implementation. You haven't, really paid us $1. And so keep doing the work that you're doing. We've got your back, and we're going to be the behind the scenes, communications and payments tool that helps you do your job better."
I love it. I mean, right. One of the things whenever I look for a service professional is, can I online schedule? Because I don't want to talk to the service professional, partially because I know they're busy, partially because I'm busy, right? I'm sitting in a meeting, not a podcast usually, but in a meeting, I'm often multitasking, right? And I'm like, oh, I need somebody to come out to the house and, pest control or something, right? So I'll be like, hey, where's there a pest control company that has technology deployed, right? And I'll choose them over somebody that's like, call us. I don't want to call you, right? I want to text you. I want to schedule online with you. And then I prefer kind of your model is awesome, right? Because I'm totally good with electronic communication once the service is done, right? Like, he did his job. It was great. It was 5 stars. That's awesome. And then, if we walk through kind of what your product does, right? I'm assuming you guys are going to communicate with me and say, hey, thanks. And could you leave us a review? And I'm going to go, absolutely. Bob, plumbing, 5-star, boom, which helps grow his business, right? Because what's the first thing we do when we search Angie's List or whatever? We're looking for like our next door, right? Who's got positive reviews? How many reviews do they have? And those people, surface to the top of the list.
Yeah, you bring up some great points. And, look, at the end of the day, as we think about communications, we spend a lot of time thinking about messaging and platforms and the type of messaging that we want to deliver. It comes down to, consumers want to communicate with businesses on the channels that they prefer, at the time that they prefer. And if you're a business and you're not presenting a variety of options and a variety of different communication channels and sort of pigeonholing them into one particular channel, whether that's calling or chat or only texting or something, you have to kind of present everything and allow the consumer to meet you where they are. And in doing that, now you're going to be favorable with them, and you're going to give them an opportunity to be efficient with their time and your time. I think about banks all the time, and to make a phone call to a bank and initiate a transfer or do really any sort of task, I know that it's going to cost me half hour of my time. And so, really
Yeah.
thinking about streamlining and providing efficient communication is really at the forefront of our minds. We dedicate a lot of time to thinking about personalization of messaging. What is the time of day? How consistent? What's the personality? What's the length of a message? What are words that maybe we could replace with other words that are maybe more simple and easy to understand? And so all of this kind of results in what we call conversational design. And so we're designing conversations for businesses to help them sound, better and sound more professional. We're designing conversations to help them, better communicate, and it'll make your team, go from, hey, this is a 3-person team to what feels like a 300-person enterprise. And when consumers get a sense of that, then they feel trust, and then they're willing to buy and invest in your services or products. And so, I think those are some really nice qualitative value adds that we're seeing today.
I think, as the younger generation, right, moves into home ownership, or they don't have to own a home, right, to need a service. Um, but whereas before I think maybe that was a nice to have, it's now becoming a have to have, right? Because they aren't gonna call you. They don't call their mom. What makes you think they're gonna call your business, right? Like, I find businesses, right? My pool service company, I send them an email. That's just, they respond really well and like instantly, right? I need an extra cleaning last week because we had a monsoon, and like, boom, they were on it same day. It was great. I didn't have to call anybody. It didn't take a ton of my time because, like you, every time I have to call, that just sits on my desk, right? Because I'm like, I don't have 30 minutes to call your company and, hi, how was your day? And you don't care how my day was. Knock it off. I need this. You provide that. Come do that, and then I shall pay you. Right? That, like, I get transactional with that, but then I have loyalty. Right? When companies do that, they do get my loyalty.
Yeah.
Um,
And I think, there's, as the generation kind of, gets younger and younger, moving into this space, to your point, the tolerance for bad customer experience, is going to get, lower and lower. And I think, you have to be able to provide sort of automated solutions, whether that's automated booking, automated follow up, automated payments. And I think people just expect to handle those interactions on their phone. Mobile has some really impressive stats. I think it's like 75% of consumers want to text a business, or would like a business to text them. And then your open rates, if you and I look at our phones right now, it's a 98% read rate, right? So the number of unread messages that we have, is probably very, minimal, or none, because nobody likes to have an unread message on their phone. So we want to be very protective of people's space and sort of their phone, but also if there's relevant and useful information, that we can present, to a retail customer or to a homeowner, we're going to be there and we're going to support those businesses.
I love it. That communication via your phone is becoming so important, right? I mean, it's not only how we search for home service vendors, but why then go, take that off that platform? Why force the consumer who's already on a mobile device to do something other than stay on that mobile device? And if we think about the service continuum of that, right, that's everything from finding the business to scheduling the business to communicating with the business to reviewing the business, paying the business. It just seems so logical. Like, I'm in the restaurant industry, right? I'm such a fan of restaurants that use Toast, right? And I can like scan a UPC symbol, or I can be like QR code, boom, pay my bill, get up and leave, and I don't have to wait for the waitress to come back or whatever, right? Like, I just love it. And so to have like somebody come and do a service and then send me a link and be like, hey, you can pay us here. Awesome. Click, Apple Pay, done, go, they
Yeah.
get their money and off, and everyone's happy, right? I mean, it's just like it creates happiness.
Yeah. No, and I think, to provide maybe a little bit more detail as far as, how we're thinking about the world, we started off really focusing on that post appointment experience. So the way our product works is really simple. We will integrate with whatever field service, management, or CRM or scheduling system that a business is using today. So integrations are at the core of really everything that we do. We have over 10 integrations that have been built out, whether that's with a Service Titan, a House Call Pro, a Jobber, you name the scheduling or CRM platform of your choice. Once we've integrated, now we can then determine what type of communications need to be sent to customers after each appointment is completed. So let's say that your home is just cleaned. We're going to see that. That's going to trigger an automated message that says, "Hey, Michael, here is your invoice. Go ahead and tap this secure link to pay." And so you've opened this link, you've completed that payment in a really seamless, frictionless way. You're prompted to do things like leave a tip, which then leads to leaving a positive review, which then can handle a referral or even like a 1 month, 3 month, or 6 month follow up where it's like, "Hey, Michael, it's been a long time since you've cleaned your home. It's getting really dirty, and you haven't called your mom." Just kidding. And so call your mom, get your house cleaned. 3 months later, we're going to take care of that follow on. So we're creating that repeat business and that life cycle marketing on behalf of that business owner. I want to create the clarification as well. You mentioned, finding businesses. So Allset is not a marketplace. And I think most people, I think the general public will tend to think, oh, home services help me find service X or Y or Z.
Mm.
And really, I think there's players in the space that
Yeah.
are well established that have dominated that aspect. Whether service businesses like them or not, TBD. But you've got the Thumbtacks of the world, the Angies, where it's like, help me find my service provider.
Right.
And that's really a lead gen platform and a lead gen tool. We are less focused on lead gen, and we're more focused on just becoming a software platform that sells directly to the business. That when the business sets up, they immediately become more operationally efficient. They become more customer experience focused, and they become more loved. Like you said, their customers love that they're now communicating, and we see all kinds of crazy feedback. We'll see people that are messaging back and saying, "Hey, you missed a spot," or "Hey, we really loved service professional A, service professional B was kind of lazy." And we're kind of just laughing internally
Yeah.
at all of these insights that now form a data layer that we can now present back to the business, which is useful and interesting.
It's you're right. There's all these kind of players on the front end to help you find the service provider. Um, I think you guys serve a really valuable function, right? You said something about like tipping. Like I do get an invoice electronically from my pool service company once a month, right? I get this, and I love my pool dude, but it's a QuickBooks invoice, right? And I pay it online electronically, on my phone, whatever, but I can't leave a tip. And I'm like, I would tip you.
Yep.
Orange Tree Pools, hello. I would tip my pool dude if you gave me some way to do it. But I'm not going to go stand out there in 114 while he's skimming my pool and hand him $20. Right? So like huge missed opportunity, right? I mean, you think about what that does, right? Like the dude, maybe he doesn't necessarily work for, or he's not the owner, the plumber, right? He's a plumber at a plumbing company, but he now starts getting tips
Yeah.
on top of his trade wage. Okay, now he's like, okay, this is cool, right? They would want in a competitive marketplace, they want to work at a company that has this type of system where they can get a little bit of bump, right? Like nobody wants to be a plumber let me rephrase that. I'm sure there's people that want to be a plumber. I don't want to be a plumber, but if I did, I'd love it if I did a great job and my customers gave me an extra $20 or $40 or whatever. How cool is that?
Yeah, good point. Tipping is fascinating. And if you're kind of wanting to dive into some of the stats, Allset just crossed in the last 5 months a 1.5 million annualized run rate in tips. So we're
Wow.
generating $1.5 million in tips for service professionals. We send 100% of that back to them, and so it's been kind of a really fun journey seeing American, or consumer behavior and their willingness to leave, an average $25 tip, that goes back into the pocket of the service professional in a really digital and seamless manner. That $25 goes a long way. We're dealing with labor shortage. We're dealing with recession. We're
Amen.
dealing with competitors who are, basically poaching these folks, from, companies like Costco or Walmart or McDonald's, or even gas stations that can pay 20, 25, $30 an hour. So now you've got, plus benefits. And so, we have to protect these business professionals. We have to protect their A players. And one of the best ways you can keep great talent is pay them more, right? Increase their wages. And so, our increase, I think it's literally a 300% increase in tips, for service professionals. So if you're a pool guy, listen up, get up on Allset, start, automating communications, and, get Michael's $25 that he'd like to go tip. So
I love it. My I have a landscaping company as well at the house. I'm just like I'm so enthralled with this because it's like, oh my gosh, it's like it's everywhere, right? It's so relevant. If it's me, it's everyone. So I have a landscaper who comes every Tuesday. He's really great about sending me a text. Hey, Michael, I'll be there Tuesday to take care of the yard. That's not an automated text. That's maybe he cuts and pastes. Oh, maybe. I doubt
sure.
it. But he's having to type that out for every customer for the day. He wants to provide that communication because if I text him back and go, "Hey, could you trim the oleanders?" He's always like, "Oh yeah, sure." Hey, let me know if there's any extra charge. Oh, it'll be an extra $10, and we have this great interaction. But I'm talking to him, right? I'm not. There's no automation. There's no intelligence there. Well, that came out wrong. There's no automated intelligence or AI there. It's me talking to my guy, and then at the end, he does the yard, and I have to write a check, right? Because who carries cash? Nobody has cash. I do tip, right? I tip my landscapers. I put it on the check, and I usually leave it like in an envelope under the doormat, and you're just kind of like how antiquated is that, right? But you can tell he wants to have that interaction, right? Because he sends me a text to tell me he's going to be there. Like he could just they could just so easily make that next little leap, right? Like how hard is it to get set up on something like this? Because I still think that's the intimidating part for a lot of these folks is they're like, oh yeah, this looks great, but I don't know what this is. Like I don't know how to do this. And
Yeah. Well, just to make a fun point, PSA, if you're looking for an early payday advance, just go to Michael's doorstep because apparently he's got a bunch of cash stacked in envelopes or
that's it.
checks. So, look, our setup, we try to keep setup under 10 minutes. So, what that
Wow.
looks like is you can give us a call, you can go to the website, you sign up. We just need to quickly integrate and connect with your system of record. If you don't have one, that's okay. We can kind of help take things from there. Most systems, you'll be looking at 3 to 6 months of an implementation. We want to run as far away from that as possible. Once we have access to your appointments, to your customer data in terms of the customer's first name and their phone number, we take care of the rest for you. So it's really about a 10-minute setup. And then, we start, we'll handle the payments. And so we'll send out payments. I think it's twice a month on the 16th and the 1st. And then we also take care of, connecting your Google business account or any other review platforms so that you can start, generating those 5-star reviews and growing. So all of those things, we want to build a world-class customer success and support team. And so we try to make things very seamless so that these small business owners, and technicians can get back to focusing on doing what they do best without having to worry about, a new headache as part of their tech stack.
Yeah, assuming they're using, right, like a CRM up front. I love the integration with Google Calendar because I'm like scratching my head going, are there really service professionals that still are just like, oh yeah, I talked to John and let me put that into my Google Calendar that I told them I'd be there Thursday at 2, right? Like it's crazy to me because we get a lot of people that I get a lot of like service providers like, and they'll be like, oh, I'll be there. And then they call me back. Oh, I can't be there. I gotta, oh, this changed, this, that, and the other. And I'm like, are you just really like winging this shit along the way? Like, how do you not like plan your day? Right. What an opportunity for lost revenue.
Yeah, you're right, and you'd be surprised. It really just comes down to the digital maturity of the individual or the business or the company itself. And if you want to scale and grow and run your business efficiently, you've got to be able to handle, sort of thinking about tools that you need to have in place. I've seen folks that do everything in their head. I've seen pen and paper. The next evolution is then, okay, Google Calendar or Apple Calendar, maybe running everything from your phone, like your landscaper, sending out manual text to every client. And then kind of as you get to the next stage, it's like, all right, well, what's my CRM that I need to have in place?
Yeah.
And then beyond that, it's like, okay, how do I think about automation? How do I think about, digital payments? How do I lower my credit card processing fees? How do I generate, more positive reviews? So all I think positive things to kind of start to think about as, these service businesses grow and mature.
I still think there's like this almost like a fear, right? Or maybe it's not a fear of the tech, but they're like, oh, that'll cost too much, right? And they don't understand the enabling effects of technology, right? Like if you have a more organized work schedule, right, by using those CRMs, whether it's Service Autopilot or Jobber or House Call, right, you're able to then get more jobs, right? Your customers like it better. Your office staff which is usually like the spouse, right, is the one who's answering the phones and scheduling the calls at small
Yep.
business owned. They like it, and you're able to get more work, thus more money. And then on the back end, right? Uh, I, I think people go, oh, that's too expensive when they perceive technology with this thousands of dollars a month in cost. And really, because of the competition in the space, because of the technology evolution, like a tool like Allset, I don't even know the pricing schema for Allset, but I guarantee you it's probably not thousands a month.
Yeah, you're right. Our pricing is really simple and affordable, and it's really based on the number of appointments, the size of
Right.
the company. But we tend to sit around $200 a month, so we're far away from the thousands of dollars. And then we try to look for like a 5 to 10x ROI for all of our customers. So if you're paying the $200 a month, and we can generate $1,000 to $2,000 a month in top line revenue, that's a very exciting play for us.
It's
Um,
crazy to me, right? I mean, think about my pool company example. I would gladly tip my pool company 20, let's just say $20 a month, right? On top of the 100 and whatever I pay them a month, right? If they only have 10 customers, they've now paid for Allset if everybody tips, right? I'm guarantee you Orange Tree Pools in Phoenix, Arizona has way the hell more than 10 customers. It just doesn't, I mean, I want customers to understand that, because I think there's this that's the barrier, right? Like, I'm always like, why is technology not more prolific when we can help, right? My whole brand, my whole mantra is around, let's enable business with technology, right? I want to be an enabler. Here's an enabling technology, and people are like, oh, I can't do that, right? Either because they don't understand how to get the technology plugged into their business, and people, I mean, what I love is, I guarantee you, if you call Justin, Justin's going to help you, right? Like, he's not going to stop until it works for you, because he used words like empathy. Used words like focus on the customer, right? Like, the technologists that do this, like, sure, we need to make a little money and have our company grow and all that stuff, but our focus is on you being successful as a customer, right? We don't want you to be like, oh, I think I'll try Allset. Oh, I can't figure it out. Oh, that didn't work for me, or whatever, right? Like, the technologist behind the company, whether it's Allset or something else, is vested in your success, right? They want you to be successful. Like, I just feel there's this barrier, this perceived barrier around, it's too complex or it's too expensive, and we just blew both of those out of the water.
Yeah, well said. We'll have to have a chat with. You said it's Orange Tree Pool Services.
Orange Tree Pools.
Let's send in the recording. And look, if you're Orange Tree or any other pool company in the United States, let's get you up and running on Allset, and hopefully they'll have an opportunity to listen to this. So
I love it. Yeah, I will. I will shoot them a note, and then I'll talk to my gardener. Right. I mean, if we just all do our parts, right? Like, I think everybody who has a service professional, that's good, right? I mean, there's some service professionals that are not good, that are scammy, that are right. Let's take them out of the equation for now. Let's take, the housekeeper that's been servicing your home for many years and such. If they're not using this technology, like, help them, right? Take a moment and go, hey, I heard this podcast about blah, 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 and call me, right? Like, if you're like, oh, I don't know about talking to Justin, because he's going to try to sell me Allset, which he's not, right? Like, he just wants to help. But if you're like, then call me, right? Like, call somebody in tech who's trying to, like, raise the industry up, right? Because help them out, right? So that they can make more money, so that they can improve their lives. Like, if everybody just helped everybody and broke down all these barriers, I feel like a PSA, right? Like, please help everybody take advantage of technology.
the PSA here is, look, call your service professional, call Michael, and then call your mom, right? And
That's
if
right.
those three things, the world would become a better place. So.
I love it. Well, very cool. This is awesome, Justin. I mean, you're filling a need. I was just reading kind of your own reviews, right? We're talking about reviews and how they empower businesses. You guys have some pretty cool reviews out there from folks that are using it. What's that like? What's the just when you get these positive reviews and people are like, oh my gosh, thanks. Like, how does that make you feel as the founder and the one who's kind of spurring this along?
Yeah, we have a lot of work to do. So, like any startup, we have our own, challenges and flaws. And so we're always looking to improve. And we want to build a customer that, or a company that our customers love. And if we have a minimum lovable product, all of the other benefits and value will follow. So to your point, we're not like this greedy, sales driven company trying to shove software down people's throats. It's like, no, we want to change an industry. And if we can make it better and solve specific problems around, employee retention, reviews, online reputation, or, standardizing payments, we're there, and we want to show up for the industry and leave it better. So those are some of our thoughts.
I love it. I want to read this one review that you guys have out there, because I think it highlights something. It focuses on the tips, right? So Marcy, who's in residential cleaning, she says, I love how straightforward the Allset experience is, right? I think we've all established that. And then she says, our service technicians don't know when to ask for a tip or a review and Allset does both automatically for us. Think about that awkward moment when the service is done, they scribe this stuff out in Chisel, right? And then there's this, and they go like, wow, you have a beautiful home. And they're looking around. What they're really doing is pausing, hoping that you're catching the clues, that they'd love a tip, right? But your waitresses at restaurants don't ask you for a tip. They don't go, oh, did you enjoy your service? Because I'd love 25%. Like, it's this awkward moment. And to just take that off the service providers, hey, thanks, let me get out of your face and get back in my truck, and you have a great day. And then it just follows on after that, takes away the awkwardness for them, for you. Maybe you don't want to give them 20%, right? Maybe they did an okay job and it wasn't great and you're going to give them 10%. Okay, that's awkward to do in person, to be like, hey, here's $10, not 20 on a $100 service. But if you did it in a tip app or whatever, like,
yeah, our platform, whether it's payments, whether it's reviews, whatever the engagement is with the customer, we want to help professionalize it, and it needs to happen in a way that's seamless. And that review or that payment can take place while the provider is already back in their car or in their truck, and just hanging out and getting ready for the next appointment. So. It's something where we certainly want to remove any awkwardness in these engagements, and just really make the space more modern and convenient for both businesses and their customers.
Well, awesome. Well, Justin, I love everything that we talked about. I love the tech. I think you're disrupting in the space, which is cool. What as kind of the founder, right? You get to be the chief bottle washer and kind of the guy with the product vision. What's next on the horizon for Allset?
Good question. So we want to continue to, get our product in the hands of every home service business in North America. And so that's going to take obviously a lot of time and effort, but we're very excited to do so. Beyond that, we're excited about really just owning the payment stack for these businesses. So helping in areas, where businesses need the most help, whether that's cash flow or just operations, thinking about things like, lending or banking as a service, card issuing, buy now, pay later. There's a lot of, I think, exciting, financial services that we can supplement in addition to the payments and communications arm that we're already succeeding in. So as we do those things, I think we'll hopefully become a household name and hopefully a unicorn company like the unicorns behind you here in the next, several years.
I love it. I love it. I love all that you guys are doing. Justin, thanks for, taking the time to really understand the customer problem and designing a product to not just, oh, I launched a tech product and I'm a founder and yay me, but to really solve an industry problem, to take the time to, get out there and get dirty and really serve those folks that are serving the houses across America and such. It's really cool to see technology be consumable, to be implementable, and to be understandable. And really, it does a service to the tech space as well when people design products like that versus, all the complexity that's out there that's not helping anybody, either the users or the space. So I appreciate you for what you do and also for taking the time and joining us here on the podcast.
Thanks for having me on the show, Michael, and appreciate it.
Awesome.